When you maybe fall back into a bad routine, this is going to serve as a reminder for you if you've not been making conscious decisions in recent times, like some of the decisions I am currently in. Okay? Like I said, it's not like I'm perfect. I'm also learning and teaching myself while I do this. So conscious decision require you to be intentional. Pause, reflect, and consider the consequences of your actions. I consider the consequences of my actions for that lady. What is it going to mean for her? What have I opened that I shouldn't have for this lady? So making conscious decisions and choices empowers you to align your decisions with your values, your aspirations, and long-term goals. Hey people, it's your girl Esther Ray, and this is Not Format Village People. I think perspective is actually a gift. It's a gift to have a different perspective to the other person you're having conversations with, and it just makes it all interesting, isn't it? So on this platform, we're going to share personal stories. Be open-minded, listen in, pick what you can pick from it. Do you understand? On different topics, because we're going to be talking about different topics, from friendship to marriages to life happenings to growing up to backgrounds to careers to businesses. So different people will be coming on this platform, and I'm looking forward to sharing my perspectives, my stories, and exciting informations just for you to learn from it. It won't be new things that you've not heard before, but I'm hoping this platform will serve as a kind of a reminder for you to connect back to that you need to connect to. Once again, it's Not Format Village People, guys. Thank you. But for real, yeah, when next you see a podcaster, hopefully they're all smarter than I am. Because when next you see a podcaster, just salute them. Especially, those people that are doing it for free. Because someone like me, I always bless and pray for YouTubers. I'm not a YouTuber just yet, but I know I always bless them because whenever I coach people and I need them to go and get like some extra stuff, I ask them, just go on YouTube. There are people recording this particular stuff on YouTube. So go on YouTube and listen to them and just explore and adventure and things like that. Because I woke up this early morning, and I sat behind this Blue Yeti. I think this is a broken record right now because I'm just nagging about it on WhatsApp. Well, I've been here recording for the past 43 minutes, only for me to go on Zoom, and I have been on mute. I literally recorded the whole episode till the end of it to go back on my page on Zoom, obviously because I go through my notes as well. So I wasn't on my Zoom page. I couldn't see that I was actually on mute while I recorded 43 minutes long episode. And now I've got to start all over again. Just amazing. It's just amazing. But I'm still going to do this. Village people, either you like it or not. Let's make sense of it. So, hi people, it's your girl Esther Ray, and this is another episode of Not For My Village People. Let's do it right now. Let's get something out there for you all. And today I actually want to talk about something very serious, but at the same time with some lessons learned. And I hope it helps someone because, as you know, like I always say, we're not doing this. I am not doing this to just speak because I'm a talkative, but I'm doing it to at least bless one person. So let's start like I love to start. Believe in your infinite potential. Your only limitations are those you set upon yourself. And here's another one that relates a lot with what I'm going to be talking about today. Consult not your fears, but your hopes and your dreams. Think not about your frustrations, but about your unfulfilled potential. Concern yourself not with what you tried and failed in, what it's still possible for you to do. Don't hold on to the days that it didn't work out right. It's not what I wanted it to be. Look forward to where you're going to. Today, I want to talk about your choices sabotaging your true potential. Yes. Are your choices sabotaging your true potential? The choices you're making, is it affecting your true potential? Now, earlier this year, so this year, 2023 now, last year, I have always, this journey of speaking, I came into it, I started it like official in 2018 when I had my first daughter and I started to look into what can I do? What can I make of this talent I've been given? So I started from my living room, from the comfort zone of my living room, having some intellectual ladies come in and then we discussed different topics, different subjects. We took it from my living room into halls and places and we did amazing things out there. And that was how it started. The journey, and I started going to places, get invitation to speak at events. But then the lockdown happened. and it halted a lot of things. Actually, the lockdown happened while I was just completing a project that had been contracted to go and do in West Africa, going to different schools and speaking to children and adults and those that are looking to make career decisions. So I had to come back into the country before I get locked out during that period. Remember the lockdown happened and we started all this webinar stuff. And for someone like myself, my coaching business, I'm a coach, as you know or may know. I'm a career and personal development coach, and my coaching business is virtual. So a lot of everything I do is online on Zoom. We sit down there and we do this thing. It's just like a webinar for me. So after lockdown and in recent times, I've just gotten so tired of webinars. I am so done with it. It's a lot because I am always on webinars anyway. So I am in the space where I started to think about what I wanted 2023 to look like. And I started working towards it. So I think around September, I got someone to help upgrade and revamp my speaking profile. And since January, I've been very intentional and I've been going to speak on stages and getting back out there just like I was doing before the lockdown so I can continue to impact this life. The goal is to eventually get to a global stage. Get on a global stage where I have hundreds and thousands of people that I am speaking to and impacting their life positively, because it's not just, let's just speak. So this journey, even of this podcast right here that I'm sitting behind this Blue Yeti microphone, it's not just the first. Now we are almost at 30th episode, but I've started other episodes in time past, other podcasts in time past. I think I started one, something potentials to dreams, performing to potential. I started another one, strengths and weaknesses. And I know I never got over the third, or I never recorded more than 3 episodes on those particular podcasts. But here I am now. That journey has helped to this particular point. So with what we're talking about today, are your choices sabotaging your true potential? Because oftentimes it does. Sometimes we're on that train of, and I find myself there as well. Remember, please, people, I always say, like I always say on this podcast, everything I talk about is not because I know better. It's not because I know it all. It's a sort of a reminder to me as well. And trust me, in the past couple of weeks and months, choices have been keeping me up at night. It's not that I actually am a good sleeper or I sleep long at all, but now it's even shorter because I sat behind this Blue Yeti microphone before the first epic 43 minutes fail. I sat behind this Blue Yeti microphone and I recorded whatever it is that I recorded. There was nothing there. But oftentimes, or sometimes, not often, because now I'm very intentional about the decisions I'm making, where you find yourself on a train. Sometimes you can find yourself on a train where you're like, oh my goodness, I wish I didn't make that decision. Maybe this will pan out different. But I hope, because I am grateful to God that I celebrate those wins now, where I find myself a lot of time, more time than on the other train, where I can say to myself in that invisible mirror, and I look at myself in there and say, you know what? Thank God I made that decision. Thank God that was the choice I made. I'm glad I made it. Look how it panned out now. Like this podcast, not for my village people. Like deciding last year, September, that, you know what, enough with webinars. Let's get back out there and impact life, because the face-to-face connection, there is nothing like it. You get to engage, finish whatever I'm speaking, wherever I'm speaking at. Even if it's for me to come and give a feedback. Now, last year, I didn't go out at all. As you know, for those of you that have listened to my previous podcast, I didn't go out much last year because obviously I was hiding the protruding belly. But at some point, there was a point where I was invited to come and speak about a particular product. Now, this particular product is owned by a gentleman that when he introduced it to me a couple years back, I remember telling him, oh my goodness, this can go places. But it depends on how you treat it. How you treat it will determine how far it goes. I am a testifier of the product that it's amazing. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful back office too. When someone like that invites you to go come and speak about this product, I couldn't give any excuse. So that's why the fact that I was hiding, I went on stage and I spoke about it. And I think until he saw me before he realized, oh my goodness, you're expecting. Before there was a conversation held about it. But yes, I went on that stage and I talked about it. And even talking about someone's product, I remember finishing and people coming to me and saying, oh, that was amazing. That was fantastic. Thank you for that. I needed that. And I get that oftentimes. I get that a lot. Microphone now, not the Blue Yeti microphone, because I don't even own the Blue Yeti microphone. The Blue Yeti microphone, if you don't know, has got a stand. So it just stands on its own and I lean on it just to speak into it. But when I'm under the microphone anywhere to speak, it's always something. Even if I'm talking about sanitary towels, I get men coming to me or misters coming to me at the end of it and saying, I needed that. And I'm thinking to myself, you needed sanitary towels? Seriously? But again, it's the gift, your potential. It's the gift that you've got. And I'm grateful to God for mine. So the goal that I'm working towards is eventually get to speak on global stages, and we're working towards it. So the choices you're currently making, are they sabotaging your true potential? Now, let's look into the Uncle Google's definition of true potential. If you know, I always use Uncle Google. I call it Uncle Google because it's holding it. But yeah, your true potential is supposed to be an activity that you can do amazingly with minimal effort. That's what your true potential is. So, are your choices, again, sabotaging your true potential? Now, sisters, misters, if you're listening to this, I'm hoping you're an adult. If you're listening to Not For My Village People, because we're still not changing the podcast name. And to be fair, at this particular point, every conversation I have with people, I feel like in any room, people just try, they still use that Not For My Village People as a kind of a coined joke now with me. And I love it. So if you're listening to this, you are probably adulting and you and I know, sisters, misters, that life is a journey filled with choices. Now, whatever the choice is, however big or small it is, from the moment you wake up in the morning to the decisions you make throughout the day, your lives are shaped by the choices you make. Now, a friend took me to dinner once, right? She took me to dinner once and she's, what a beautiful lady. She's been asking me for weeks. I don't know if I've ever told that story on this podcast before, but she had asked me for weeks and time. And then we planned it in. We put it in the calendar and then we went for this dinner. By the way, she's one of my cheerleaders. I post anything, she will make sure she send me messages, well done, girl, you keep doing it, keep representing, and things like that. And even if I'm running any event, she will make sure she's there. If she can't decide on her time availability, last minute, if she gets the opportunity to attend, this lady will call me or text me. She'll say, I know you're busy right now. You're at the event, but I've just had an hour opening and I'm going to be at that event now. I know there are no tickets available anymore, but I will bring my cash. And she always does. Even if you don't have any sets or whatever refreshment you're serving, don't mind me. I will be there and I will give you the cash to just be at your event. So she is one of my cheerleaders. So when she invited me, so I needed to say that so you understand, because the question she asked me, as soon as we got to dinner and we finished pleasantries, it sounded like a village people question, but it wasn't. That was why I created that particular, so you have an overview of it. So after pleasantry, the first question she asked me, this lady, what a sweetheart. She said, Esther, what are you running from? I looked at myself and I'm like, a regular person will probably think, oh, it's a regular running. But then I'm a deep thinker. If you don't already know, I'm a deep thinker. So I knew what she meant and I smiled. That particular question led to a lot of stories that I told her. And I wasn't surprised when she was nodding and saying, nah, I knew it. I knew there must be more to this life you've chosen to live. So the decisions you make throughout the day, over the course of your life, I got tired of webinars. And in September last year, without knowing what 2023 held, I decided I want to go back out to speak at events and not just doing webinars anymore, because I am always doing it anyways. At least between 5 and 10 hours, I coach every week outside of my work. And trust me, with my work, settling the team, doing stand-ups with the team, I'm always talking. But I work virtually, I work remotely as well. So it's still the same thing, webinar. So I'm tired of organizing webinar, which was why I put a stop to it. So this year, and I'm grateful to God that the decision I made last year is coming to fruition now. So in this space of this Miss Talkative, I am on that good side of the train where I say, I'm glad I made that decision. Thank God I made that decision last year that, okay, enough with webinars. Let's get back out there. Let's get back on that stage, because it's my true potential, isn't it? So, but the question is, sisters, misters, have you ever stopped to consider whether your choices are aligning with your true potential? The choices you're currently making, we just talked about the speaking stuff. We started from a couple years back. And the lockdown happened. Life happened. If you listen to my other podcast, 2022, life was happening while I was hiding. Before then, I didn't hide because I was just dealing with life and being selfish because I had to for my sanity. And just before then was the lockdown, wasn't it? So this year, the goal is to get back out there. So whatever decisions and choices you're making right now, do they align with your actual true potential? Are you indirectly or unknowingly sabotaging the life you've always dreamed of? To be fair, it's a question worth exploring. I said this the last couple of weeks and months. It's been coming to the forefront of my life, of my mind a lot, where I'm thinking about the choices I'm making, because it's not that I'm perfect. I'm not always on that other train I was talking about, the right train. Let's put it on the right side. But on the left side, where I look at it and I'm like, oh my goodness, but why did I make that choice? But thank goodness I have come to the point in my life where when I realize I have made a decision that has affected my choice, not in the way I needed to, I don't just dwell on that particular situation. The next thing is, how do I resolve it? What is the solution to this particular situation I put myself in? Because to be fair, some of us are the villain in our own stories. Some of us are our own village people. That's the fair truth. That's just the honest truth. Some of us, some of you are the village people in your story. But I know now, when I come to the realization of that, how am I solving it? So are you indirectly or unknowingly sabotaging the life you've always dreamed of? Because the choices you make, it has a profound impact on your journey and or your destination, whatever journey you're taking through life, whatever destination you're taking through life. From that quote I read earlier, remember, despite it's normal for us all, at some point, you've not made a good decision. And it doesn't mean all those decisions will affect you negatively. Even when people thought it was wrong, you're weird, you're special, you're this and you're that. There have been the village people in that particular point in time. But you still went ahead and you took the decision, and that you're regretting it or something, or it's not worked out the way you wanted it to work out. Remember the quote I read earlier: consult not your fears, but your hopes and your dreams. Think not about your frustrations. There's no point. It's not going to make any difference. But about your unfulfilled potential. What I don't want you forgetting though is your unfulfilled potential as a result of that choice you made that did not pan out the way you wanted it to pan out. So concern yourself not with what you tried and failed in, but with what it is still possible for you to do. What is still possible? So while you are on that boat shaking and you're wondering, am I going to float? Am I going to drown? Whatever the case may be, don't just dwell on that particular situation at that point in time. What's the solution? What's the solution to it? So let's look into the power of our choices, because it's important. The choices we make, they're important. The choice you make. Now, as the sisters and misters that you are, I'm sure you know that your choice is a fundamental aspect of human existence. Choices generally is a fundamental aspect of human existence. Every choice you make, like I said before, from what you eat for breakfast, to your career path, to that relationship, to that friendship, to that investment, it all has the potential to move you closer to your dreams, or sometimes even further away from them. When you're on that other train, it's usually because it's moving you further away from your goals, from your potential. But here is the catch, guys. Not all choices are created equal. Did you know that? I'm sure you know that. You're an adult. It's a reminder. Remember, this is just a reminder. Not all choices are created equal. And some choices, to be fair, they're made without much thought. They're driven by either your habits or societal expectations, Instagram, Twitter, whatever is out there now these days. Sometimes your choices are driven by them. And those situations where driven by maybe their habits, good or bad, or just social requirements or societal expectations, the choices might feel comfortable in short term. At that particular moment, it feels like the best decisions ever. It fits in with that particular purpose, but not on the long term. But in the long term, that decision that felt good in that particular minute can lead to dissatisfaction and unfulfillment in the long run. You know that decision you made where you pulled that lady's wig and you gave her the beating of her life. But then a couple years down the line, she's the CEO of that organization you've just been recruited to work for. That one night stand you had with that mister or sister, and you decided to steal from them. 6 years later, they're your husband's best friend or husband's cousin, brother, whatever the case may be. That person, you gave it to them. You gave it to them because you could speak in it. Yeah. They become those people that you actually need to fulfill some of your potential. Not always the case, but this is just regular examples that I thought you might just chip in there. Now, most important thing, like I said, a reminder, isn't it? Whatever decisions or choices you're making, because sometimes we don't see the whole picture. There is a quote behind where I'm sitting right now recording this that says, you don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step. Martin Luther King said it. So sometimes we don't see the whole picture. You don't see your future. If you already see futures, please let me know. Give me a shout so I can come and consult you so you can tell me. But I know it's not going to be through because you can't see the future. You're not God. So the fact that we can't see the future, you don't know if the decisions or choices you're making now will affect you positively or negatively in the future. But trust me, you also can. It just depends on how you're looking at it and the level of retro that you're doing on all the choices that you're making because you're adulting. Hopefully, you're also learning from your lessons learned as you move on. Now, comfortable in the short term, but on the long run, the decision might lead to dissatisfaction or unfulfillment. Now, there are different types of choices. We have unconscious choices and we have conscious choices. Now, unconscious choices are often made on autopilot without thinking it. You're just making it. I went to an event this year. At that event, I saw a lady that she got married recently, and it was a wedding I went to. And this other lady I saw there, she got married recently, and I'd not seen her. I didn't go to the wedding either. So I was just so excited to see her. And I was like, oh my goodness. Oh, wifey, how are you doing? So I gave her a big hug, and I felt something. And I was like, oh my goodness. And oh goodness, yeah, that question, by the way, I don't ask that question. I have come to know, and I know it's not my business. I know that, trust me, even with the nightmare of a life I went through 2 years ago and last year, it's not a question I plan. I didn't do it before. It's not a question I plan to ever ask anybody. But I don't know if it was because of the awkwardness of the situation at that particular moment or the environment or the event itself. I don't know what stupidity fell on me, what village people incarnation I took on to that particular event that day. I looked at this lady and I was like, are you pregnant? And what normal people try and avoid awkward situations. She went, oh no, I'm just living life. I'm enjoying myself. And that was it. The epic beginning of my ruined day. Because, oh my God. Oh, I don't know if you've ever been in that situation where you asked the wrong question. This was wrong on all levels. It's not me. I don't do it. I was so apologetic, but I still didn't sit well with me. So I went into the actual event where I was supposed to be going in the first instance. I'm just minding my business, go into the event and go and do whatever you have to do. But no, as the sister village people that I am, I had to ask that person that question. So I got into the event and I saw one of my sweetheart friend of mine. And gosh, I just had to give it. I'm like, oh my God, I just did something awful. I just did something. I could cry in that moment. Thinking about it now, I'm still very like, oh my God, Esther, you're such a person. Hopefully, I'm not the villain in that lady's story now, but sometimes you're the villain in your own story and you're the villain in some people's story. We can always be good, but let's just be more intentional about it. So I told my friend at the event, I'm like, you won't believe what I just did out there. And she was like, oh, no, don't be silly. I'm sure she knows that you didn't mean it that way. And all of you asked for good. And I'm like, no, that's a crazy question for good. It's not even excusable. I feel awful. I feel awkward. And now, da. So I told her all of this. And she was like, oh, don't be like that. But I wasn't okay with it. So between that period and an hour, I went back out. I had to pull that lady aside. I had to take her outside. And I was like, I am so sorry. And then I explained. I was like, I would not just be able to be at this event if I don't do this. I am really, really sorry I asked that question. It wasn't intended. It was just something that just came out of me. Let's blame it on village people and things like that. So I apologized. And she was like, oh, don't be silly. Oh, that's nothing. It's not a big deal. No, I don't take it like that. It's understandable. I just got married and I got married last year. So, because I don't know how not everybody will tell you their situation, or you're not required to either. But it's very wrong of me to go and just open the can of worms, either good or bad, whatever the case may be. So I had to fix it in that particular moment. I had to fix that situation right there. Now, talking about it now, it might sound a bit selfish that going back again and doing it the second time by bringing it to the forefront of her mind, especially if she's currently struggling with it. I hope she's not, but if she's struggling with that particular situation, but I had to do it. I thought about it and I had to do it because I'd rather, when she's ever telling that story to anybody, and to be fair, she came back to apologize to me. That other part is why I made that decision and that choice to go to her and apologize intentionally and not just apologize for what I just did, because that was what I did immediately. She said, oh, no, I'm not pregnant. I'm still living life. I'm enjoying my, which was then awkward. So I had to make a note one-to-one that, you know what, I asked this question and it's wrong of me. It's not my business. I am really, really sorry. Hopefully you've gotten to that point in your life where you're able to do that, when you find out you are a villain in someone's story, you're the village person in someone's story, and you try and go and fix it. Hopefully you're there. But at this point of my life, I am there. I can pick up the phone and make amends. When I realize, you know what, you messed up, Esther. You messed up big time. I will pick up the phone and I will apologize about it. Now, when we talk about unconscious choices, those are the ones that you make on autopilot. They're decisions you make without really thinking about them. Like the decision I made right there. I didn't really think about it. And I just said it. The story I just told. Now, it could also be you reach for junk food. Examples are when you reach for junk foods, when you're stressed, or you're staying at a job you dislike because it's familiar environment, whatever the case may be. Those are unconscious choices. Now, those choices can become patterns that hold you back from realizing your potential. Okay? They can hold you back from realizing your true potential. Those are the unconscious choices. Now, when we talk about conscious choices, they are choices you make with intention and awareness. See, that second part of the story, I am able to tell that story now because I feel empowered to tell it. Let's forget about the selfish part of things. But I feel empowered because if she's ever telling anybody that story, even if it had fallen on very heartbreaking side for her that day, hopefully she can back it up by saying, oh, but the sister did apologize about asking me that question at the same time. So that part is what I'm embracing and holding on to. So when you make conscious choices, or if you want to make conscious choices more than you're currently doing, if you're not already doing it, you backslide or backslide. Is that good English? Is that correct English? By the way, you know I'm not English yet, guys. So when you maybe fall back into a bad routine, this is going to serve as a reminder for you if you've not been making conscious decisions in recent times, like some of the decisions I am currently in. Okay? Like I said, it's not like I'm perfect. I'm also learning and teaching myself while I do this. So conscious decision require you to be intentional. Pause, reflect, and consider the consequences of your actions. I consider the consequences of my actions for that lady. What is it going to mean for her? What have I opened that I shouldn't have for this lady? So making conscious decisions and choices empowers you to align your decisions with your values, your aspirations, and long-term goals. Remember what I said at the beginning about this decision I made last year because I'm tired of webinars and I want to get back on stages to speak as what I believe I have been called to do and impact lives positively with that. So be more intentional about your decisions. But before you do that, in order for you to actually refer to it as a conscious choice, you've got to pause, reflect, and consider the consequences of your actions. So how do we exactly break free from sabotaging patterns? In order for you to break free from choices that you'll make that you believe will sabotage or is currently sabotaging your future, it's very important that you start by examining your daily routines. What do you do daily? What are the things you do daily? So I'm currently in the season in my life, and a couple of friends took me for a weekend getaway the other weekend, and we shared rooms. So we had three ladies, sisters in a room, two sisters in another room, and things like that. In my room, I shared it with another two sisters. And I've said it several times on this platform that I'm not a deep sleep, I'm not a long sleeper. I don't sleep hours or something. I don't have that gift. I wake up at least by 6 a.m. So obviously I woke up at 5:45 on this particular trip. And I tossed and turned because I'm like, oh, they wanted me to rest. That's why they've brought me on this weekend away. You know, I didn't want any of them talking about, oh, you couldn't even rest and again. So I was trying to stay in bed and just sleep it off. The sleep didn't come. 15 minutes later, I decided, after realizing they are both in deep sleep, they are sleeping deep. It's not like they will notice I was gone. So I got out of bed, I freshened up, carried my laptop, and I left the room for a different, nice, quiet place around the hotel. And I was there till 10 because the day before we had concluded that we're all going to go for breakfast at 10. So just before 10, I was hoping to just tiptoe back in. And as soon as I got in, they were all awake. Obviously, the two sisters I shared the room with were awake. And one of them said, oh my God, Esther. And I knew what was coming next. I was surprised by what came out next. She said, you will be successful. And I laughed. I'm like, what do you mean you were successful? And she said, you couldn't even stay in bed till 6. I'm like, how do you know? She's like, I knew when you were stepping out. As soon as I saw you carry that laptop bag, I was like, oh my God, this girl is going to be successful in life. And I was like, now, patterns. So I just told that story now. It doesn't mean don't sleep, sisters, mister. Sleep if you can sleep. Please sleep. Health is wealth. Sleep. I just don't have that gift. and my brain works 360 degree in the morning hours. It doesn't mean it doesn't work. Like I said, 360 degree. It still works a good degree during the day and throughout the day as well. So if you want to break free from unconscious choices that will or that are sabotaging your potential, start by examining your daily routines, your habits, your decisions. Are they in line or aligning with your potential? So ask yourself, what are your values? Do you know what your values are? What your core values are? Ensure that your choices align with them, because this is the only way you will give your life a sense of purpose and direction. That's it. When you know what your values are. If you don't know it, it's a missing it situation. That's what it's going to be. And you never know when it's going to be disastrous or detrimental to what you're working towards. Also ask yourself, am I settling for less? So take time to reflect on your life where you might be settling for mediocrity instead of striving for excellence. What is what doing at all is what doing properly. Remember that. Am I in my comfort zone? Are you in your comfort zone? I have always said it on this podcast about comfort zone because it's not a place of growth. Nobody grows in their comfort zone. So challenge yourself to take calculated risk and explore new opportunities, like the opportunities I've been taking lately. At the meeting just yesterday, actually. And I was like, oh my goodness, those people I'm having meetings with. But I'm looking forward to the exciting times that I've got coming up in November with some speaking gigs. I am just so excited and I'm grateful to God for the opportunity. But again, November is not happening because I did not reflect on my daily routines, habits, and decisions. Also, do not forget, it's not that I am doing this. I am always on that good train. I find myself oftentimes, just like into a few weeks now, I've been finding myself on this other train where I'm like, oh, why did you make that decision? Yeah, it happens. But also when you come to that point, what's the solution? What's next? How do I resolve this? So what are your long-term goals? Do you know what your long-term goals are? I know mine. I've known mine for years. I said I started the speaking journey in 2018, right? But if you listen to my podcasts, my last episode, you will know that it did not just start in 2018. It started way before, even before I turned 18. It started before that. So what are your long-term goals? But I knew what my long-term goals are. And those are the meetings I'm having. And those are the things, the places I'm going to. And I'm being asked to come and speak at this year and events that I'm being asked to participate in. And I want more coming, by the way. This is me letting you know I'm available. So if you're listening to this or you know someone that needs someone that is particular about positively impacting life, reach out to your sister. Don't be my village people. Be good. Talk about my name in those rooms. Am I seeking external validations? Are you seeking external validations? It's very important that you avoid choices solely because people want it. People want you to do it. Have your own mind. But how do you have your mind? You need to build that mind first. Water that mind. You see, that person that can make those decisions for you is because they are watering their own grass. That's why you look at them as, oh, they know this stuff. Water your own grass as well by feeding your mind and soul. Feed yourself. Are you seeking external validation? So prioritize your own happiness and well-being. It's important in realization of your potential. Are you learning from your mistake? Look at that. It will never happen again. I will never ask another woman if she was pregnant. It's not my business. It is not my business. Are you learning from your mistakes? Trust me, I am. I'm picking my lessons learned and using it. And it's not that I won't still make unconscious decisions or choices. I will. But I also know now that I will realize it a lot quicker than I used to. I've had a lot of conversations this week, especially with my big sister, which is also my best friend. We say it a lot. We actually face our own unconscious choices a lot because they're very common. And we talk to each other like that to resurface it and just learn from it so we don't forget it. And we catch ourselves saying all the time, you know what, for the children, we need to start telling them at an earlier age so they know. Because when you know better, you do better. So they know and don't make the same decision as us. It's because we're learning from our mistakes. So sisters, misters, embrace failures as valuable lessons. It's important. Remember the quote I read earlier. There is no point consulting your fears, but your hopes and your dreams. Those are the things you should be consulting. Think not about your frustration, but think about your unfulfilled potential because they are still achievable. Don't give up on yourself. It's not too late. It's never too late, sisters, misters. Concern yourself not what you tried and failed in, but with what it's still possible for you to do. There is a way to it. There is a way out. There is a corner. Turn the corner. Sometimes you don't even need to leave the old journey. Just turn a corner. Find something that would align with your potential. Okay? So embrace your failures as valuable lessons. Every choice, even if it leads to setbacks, it can still provide you insight for future successes. Look at this. We're doing this right now, Not For My Village People, almost the 30th episode. I've started podcasts, like I said before, in the past. Started Strengths and Weaknesses podcast. I think I recorded 2 episodes on that particular one. I started Performing to Potential. I think I recorded 3 there. But look at that. You probably never even heard about it. But I know this particular podcast has been downloaded now over 400 times. I've not checked in recent times, and I'm sure, hopefully, we're going to be able to hit 500 with this particular episode now. So thank you guys for listening. For those of you that reach out, I appreciate you all. You know, I will always say it. I don't take you for granted. The time you spend listening to this girl from an humble background, looking to just make better and have someone learn from our lessons learned as well. So embrace your journey. Realize your potential is not a destination. It's a lifelong journey, which is why I said earlier, don't give up on yourself. And along the way, sisters, misters, you face obstacles. It's not rosy cheeks. It's not all green. There are dry patches that looks like it will never grow back. But keep watering it. It will grow. You face obstacles, doubts, and setbacks. But please, by making conscious choices that align with your authentic self, you can overcome these challenges and reach greater heights than you ever thought possible. So remember, your choices are the brushstrokes on the canvas of your life. And don't forget, when we know better, we do better. When we know better, we will do better. Aim at knowing better so you can do better. Thank you all. It's another episode of Not For My Village People. And hopefully this time around, I hit the record button and I was on mute. And I can hear my voice at the end of this when it finished downloading. Thank you all for your time. And once again, it's your girl, Esther A. And this is Not For My Village People. Don't forget to share. Please share it. Most especially on your social media platforms. And I'm hoping I can figure out how to get the podcast on YouTube soon, so I can also be a YouTuber. So if there is a sister out there that blesses YouTubers as much as I bless them, I can start getting those blessings as well. Thank you all so much and have a great weekend, day, night, afternoon ahead. Bye for now.